We always like to have people like yourself who are very well versed in their area of law, and I'm looking to find out why you're behind that, and then we can get rid of that, and then I can move on. One, two, I don't know why this. Here it is. Okay. Thanks. We're going to do a first segment. We're just going to talk a little bit about what you do for people, and then the second segment we'll talk about. We'll go from there. I don't like to have scripts because it's just a conversation between you and I, and I like to interview lawyers about their practice, what they do, marketing, how you get clients, things like that. But we'll play it by ear and we'll go from there. The third segment is the Constitution segment, and that's where we can talk about the Britney Spears case, if you like. I think that's very appropriate. The fourth segment is generally question and answers, what's your most common questions, things like that. And then the fifth segment is very short, and it's just kind of a conclusion. So let's start right away, Josh, so we can get Mr. Kerry Peck on his way. I don't want to take up too much time. Thank you so much for tuning in to our podcast. Another great episode is on the way. Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts and vote hands in as we turn off everything under the sun and your voting will find out. News, sports, movies, it's the Lost Radio podcast. Welcome everybody. This is with attorney Kerry Peck, an outstanding attorney here in Chicago. He wants to be president of the Chicago Bar Association at the time. Attorney Peck. I was president of the Chicago Bar Association, a 23,000 member organization. It's great leader in the community throughout the nation. A group of people, Chicago Bar Association, and get encouraged. I've been a member for some time. I don't know. Right after law school, I did become a member, and I went to lunches, and they did great work. To be honest with you, okay, so I'm trying to find. I have your bio here. I generally don't introduce people with bios, but yours is very impressive, and I want to give you the credit that you deserve. So let's see. Okay, I know where I go. I go to you. One second. Let me also make sure that, is that the right number? You see the number there, 855-328-5787. Is that the number you want to use it, Kerry Peck? Okay, that makes sense. I just got to, I know people they put it on their website because, and then the website people wants to track it. So, and then 212-900 number. That's not the main number. 212. Okay, got it. We're going to change it to one more place, and then we'll start the show. That's what we're going to remember. Yeah, and then your list will do it. So date and numbers. I got the track, but better to get it from okay. And okay, Josh, let's do the show. Trust me, Attorney Steal Everything every Saturday conversation with some of the most trusted professionals in all of Chicago. Each year, we work with professional experiences providing the very best products and services. Yeah, we can do it. I used to kind of take a step inside the minds of some of Chicagoland's most successful business leaders and all their instruments. Every step is excellent. Welcome to the Trust Radio. I'll even recognize some of this stuff. What we say, we're going to tell you some of these is on the Trust Radio Network, where we introduce you to trusted professionals, people you can trust when you're making important decisions. Now, before we get started, I'll tell you that this show is sponsored by the law office of Stephen A. Lane, PC, and Open Tax Advocates. Open Tax Advocates helps business professionals solve all these problems. We help them with audits and levies, liens and endorsements, collections, unfiled tax returns, and payroll tax issues. We also help people with mortgage foreclosures, modifications, bankruptcy, and other related issues. So if you have any of these problems, or if you know somebody who does, you can give us a call 312-664-6649. Again, that number is 312-664-6649. You can visit us on the web at ChicagoTaxTeam.com. Now, again, the Trust Radio Network introduces you to trusted professionals. Now, you know that I like to interview attorneys because I think that this is really hard to find the right attorney when you're looking for one. Right? You never think you need an attorney until you need an attorney. And then when you tell them, they don't for the outpages. Or the substitute, which is Google. Right? So you want to get a good attorney who is trusted, professional, and generally you're going to get a referral. Right? And so we're trying to refer you to the right people, the people you need to know. And one of the most exciting or interesting areas of law, in my opinion, and especially these days, is the estate planning and elder law and other kind of issues that fall in that gamut. When you talk about family law, like, it's not just enforcement, there's so much involved. Something with estate planning and elder law, there's so much involved in that. So we went out, we got the best attorney we could find to share information with you, and that attorney is Attorney Kerry Peck. Welcome to the show, Attorney Peck. Well, thanks for joining us. Now, again, I want to mention that Attorney Peck is the author of the book, Let Dementia Steal Everything. I have a copy right here in my little fingers, and I read this book, and I recommend it to everybody. It's funny how you, as I get older, and it's true, I'm getting older. How these issues start coming to light, right? I mean, you hear about this, but it's everybody has these types of issues. Talk a little bit about the types of things that you help people with, Attorney Peck, and so they take and Stephen says, yeah, that's what the problem I'm having, and Attorney Peck is the guy that should call.
We represent a lot of families throughout the Chicago metropolitan area, and those issues relate to aging, disability, death, dying, and the taxes that relate to passing away. Of course, those issues are often involved in will contest cases. Is someone trying to steal your inheritance? Has someone persuaded a relative of yours to cut you out of the estate plan? Has someone persuaded one of your relatives to give all of the money to just one child instead of all of the children? Has someone come in and exploited your mother or father? Has a caregiver come in and persuaded your father to sign a new deed to the house, giving it to the caregiver? Has a family member come in and persuaded your mother to sign a new deed or to put their name on a joint bank account so that you're cut out of the estate plan? We do an awful lot of litigation, courtroom work, involving what's called will contest cases. Did mom have them? She was persuaded to sign. She, under the influence of this individual, was she afflicted with Alzheimer's disease? Did she have a stroke that affected her ability and her cognitive ability to think and to understand what she was doing? Was it in the middle of the night that somebody came in and said, "Mom, sign here," when she was under the influence of medications that had been prescribed by her physician? So we do an awful lot of litigation, courtroom work, seeking to overturn or appropriately to uphold documents that are done properly. But much of our work is done to overturn documents that have been done improperly. We also do a lot of trust and estate litigation in the world of what we call guardianship. Guardianship is a lifetime probate proceeding, which is needed often to determine if someone is capable of making their own decisions. Have they had some medical episode that no longer allows them to make decisions in a appropriate fashion in the management of finances and the management of their healthcare? Now, this is people that in the result of car accidents suffer traumatic brain injuries and are capable of making decisions. And today, some younger people are unfortunately afflicted with injuries or medical episodes that cause their inability to think and manage their own affairs. You mentioned a little bit about estate planning and things, and who should be using an attorney for an estate plan? What kind of people use an attorney for that? Today, anybody over the age of 18 should have an estate plan. And the reason why is if you don't have an estate plan, the State of Illinois General Assembly has already decided how your property passes. And you may not like that. The typical the best example is husband and wife are married at a young age. Maybe they get married in their 20s. They have 3 children. All of those children are very young, and husband goes to work one day and gets killed in a car accident on the highway. Most people think that all of the money goes to his wife. But the reality is that's not what happens. Only half of his money goes to his wife, and the other half go to the 3 young children. So what does that do? The money is put into a guardianship estate, an account, for each of those 3 children. It's necessary to open 3 minor guardianship accounts, and mom is not going to have access. People need a estate plan. I think what you just said about is so important that people don't realize that you have a estate plan. The person just really like it. When it comes down to it, if the state has decided the way your estate plan is going to go, and that's not the way you're looking to have it done, is that what you're telling people? That's exactly what I'm telling people. And also, an important component of estate planning are documents that we call powers of attorney. For example, I name you, Steve, to manage my financial affairs when I'm not capable of doing so. Likewise, in Illinois, we have 2 types of powers of attorney. One is a power of attorney for property, which is the management of assets, and the other is a power of attorney for health care, which clearly by its name is more obvious, relates to medical decisions, organ donation, and today in the COVID era, end-of-life treatment. Do you want to be on a ventilator? What decisions are going to be made in the end-of-life treatment that you got to bid but may need in the COVID-19 pandemic era? And those documents, again, can be executed when you're over the age of 18. You have to pick someone you trust to manage your affairs and to make your health care decisions. You have to pick
So I forgot a little bit about this on the camera. I see my hand up and there's like a minute left. You'll see that there's a minute left. Okay, and then somebody will know that a minute jump in. Okay. And it worked out fine. It worked out great. So let's do the second segment. Thanks everybody was doing this Kerry Peck. We're gonna do our second segment from the show. This is the trust for us for 16 years. Who's technical producer John Josh. He's doing the work behind those buttons. Thank you so much for what you do, John. I'm interviewing Kerry Peck this week. And Kerry Peck is he helps people with elderly like what are you talking about that? Because I don't think people you mentioned it in the last segment. About people who maybe one spouse gets some upper hand in determining how the parents' assets or both parents' assets are going to be distributed. And I don't think people understand the danger here and it's something that they can do about it. So Kerry Peck against our Chicago estate plan, can you think about that for us, Kerry Peck?
Thank you. So I think that it's important for people to understand that, estate planning is critically important. And when your parents or your grandparents are interested in doing a will, which commonly is today is accompanied by a revocable living trust, that when they have those documents done, they can often favor one child over the other. And what we see on a regular basis, regrettably, are children driven by greed, driven by money, trying to affect their parents' estate planning. And what they do potentially is they may locate the lawyer for mom and dad. They may accompany mom or dad or both to the law firm. They may sit in a room and say, this is what mom wants. This is what dad wants. And of course, if that one child is involved to the exclusion of the other children, that person's siblings, brothers and sisters, it often results in that one child being the recipient of all of mom or dad's assets. And those are the kind of circumstances that
what I think what gets people and whether they're students or whatever they have this because I have a lot of clients that have older kids. Whatever they do, I speak to Kerry Peck because he's the one that helps people. But what I see is that the other siblings can feel good because they're a lot angry. They don't want to say, be mad about it and take it off and so they can do that. Have you seen that to Kerry Peck?
I think what happens is that, unfortunately,
these kind of circumstances break apart families and they dramatically affect family dynamics. But there are times, I agree, in which other kids don't want to look greedy. They don't want to look like they're, gunning for mom or dad's money. But if they don't take action, they're never going to be entitled to recover that money in the future. And don't forget, we've got a fairly short statute of limitations. In Illinois, if that greedy child in our example is appointed executor of the estate, meaning the executor of the will appointed by the probate court, you only have 6 months to come in and contest that will and that trust. So we're really, really under a tight time frame, and people need to
whether this is something they want to do or they want to let it go.
Well, I think that one thing that people don't understand, again, you said we talk about the greed of the siblings that are left out, but they're really what's in it's not what when we're saving one child. Parent doesn't even want to favor everybody. They need to be distributed, but they just got this pressure not to let that happen. So you're actually helping that parent do what they want to do.
their money to go to their children equally. There's no question about that. And the problem here is that typically when this occurs, in which one child is pressuring the parent to give them all the money, that parent is often, suffered some cognitive impairment. And that parent is often on medication, susceptible to that type of pressure, and maybe just came out of the hospital, and they're relying on this child perhaps to take them to doctors. We often see that the undue influencer is someone that's been involved with mom or dad's medical care, knows that they're in weakened condition, and takes advantage of that by having an estate plan done favoring them. So it's really kind of a horrendous circumstance in which family members are preying upon one another, taking advantage of the knowledge that they have. That, for example, as I said, mom just got out of the hospital, she's in weakened condition, now's the time to strike and have an estate plan done favoring me, and the other
here in Chicago, the other kids are perhaps in New York, California, and the one in town was taking control of everything from soup to nuts, the market, the healthcare decisions, and the other children are completely left out in the cold. We see that on a regular basis.
As we find from you, it's much more common than we thought. And we're speaking here with attorney Kerry Peck, attorney here in Chicago. And we're talking about the elder care and taking care of our parents. And it's a first, again, as I said, as I get older, that you start thinking about these things. I don't want you to talk and hear about it, but as you get older and your parents are experiencing these things, it feels so important to make sure that their will is done and not some undue influence. Now, you mentioned when you do our spouses or kids, but a lot of times this comes in with caregivers too, doesn't it?
Situations are attempting to take advantage and do take advantage of older adults. For example, we see a lot of elderly gentlemen who have 24/7 caregivers in their house or condominium, and the caregiver is a younger woman who cozies up to the older gentleman and basically takes advantage of that circumstance, the fact that they're behind closed doors, and often we see a purported romantic relationship begin, which basically is what I call love at first sight of his wallet. And these are the kind of situations that are very, very common. We in Illinois just recently enacted a new law that if a caregiver receives over $20,000 post-death and potentially during lifetime, but certainly post-death, that $20,000 plus gift is deemed to be fraudulent, presumed to be fraudulent, in order to protect older adults from caregivers preying upon them.
It makes a lot of sense, right? It's like the distinction. I think I like the distinction. You can have the distinction if it wasn't fraudulent, but we should be presumed fraudulent because you know that undue influence on it. Right? Have you seen the elder care presumption? It should be different. We don't see the, and I don't think that it can be done. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's really protected. And maybe when we know this, if the caregivers know this law is out there, they'll give care and they won't try to take advantage of their client. So then maybe their client will get better care in the end. We're here talking with attorney Kerry Peck, attorney here in Chicago, talking about elder care and estate planning. Attorney Peck, tell people where they can find you on the web
201-0900. You can also reach us on the web at Peck Ritchey, PECKRITCHEY.com.
And you can go to our website 24 hours a day, and frankly, I think you're going to be quite impressed. We employ a retired probate judge here in the circuit, from the circuit court of County, Susan Carson, who's a terrific jurist previously in Cook County, and she owns a dimension to our law firm that I think is a great benefit to all of our clients. Also, we're going to take a short break here. I think it's So we're talking about the Britney Spears case. What part of the Constitution would you say that would you want like the privacy? You want to talk about or what aspect of the Constitution? Well, I don't think that it's a specific amendment, but I think that it really is yes, the right to privacy. The right to remain during the sales, sort of independent type scenarios. I think that all of these Britney is Britney's under, kind of the form of her father and the court system. Well, again, even if you need help, even if they let you, well, we'll talk about that because I was going to say correct. I'm so sorry. So, let's get right into this show about the Constitution said yes. Even my son Joe says, you shouldn't do that. It takes like 50 seconds. Okay, do it. Chicago's most successful business leaders. He's your host, attorney Steve Greenblatt. From 1788 until the end of time, we the people make a resolution to defend the Constitution. We're not going to sit here and listen to you about the United States of America. So let liberty, justice, and freedom win. It's the Constitution segment. Our Constitution is a document in which we the people can judge what we is allowed to do. Well, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Stephen Ray. We hear from our technical producer, John Josh. Our guest today is Kerry Peck, attorney who speaks with elder law and estate planning. Any regular listener of the show knows that we on the Constitution segment, I like to talk to you, let the opinion of talk about certain rights and cases. It's going public case about the Britney Spears. So talk about that case, Attorney Peck, and how that influences her freedom and things like that, and how that is determined overall. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So, as you may have heard, Britney Spears is the subject of a widely publicized case out in California. And in Illinois, those kind of cases are called guardianships, and in California, they're called conservatorships. And the substance of this case is the court determined some many years ago, I think approximately 13 years ago, in Britney's situation, that she needed another person or another entity to make decisions regarding the management of her assets and apparently regarding the management of some of the most personal aspects of her life. And as you may be aware, the court appointed her father to be her guardian, and thereafter they brought in a bank. But the controversy here is that Britney was capable of performing many shows in Las Vegas and other locations. She collected millions of dollars. She purportedly has an estate value now of $60 million. And when she was out on stage doing this hard work, performing with her entourage, we were all horrified, I think, to find out quite recently that her father, as guardian, was getting a piece of the money that was collected while she.
So she be on stage working hard, singing, doing putting on a great performance by all accounts out in Las Vegas, and then as her guardian getting a piece of the action. Well, I have to tell you, I find that outrageous. I find it absolutely immoral. And frankly, I think that it's impeached upon all of our constitutional rights. Who doesn't have the right to do her own work, her own profession, her own trade, which obviously is in the entertainment industry, without sharing her money with her guardian who's been appointed by the court. In addition, in addition, she's been appointed as being prohibited from marrying a man that she's been dating a long time. She's indicated publicly that she wants to have a child with this man. And supposedly, according to the Lynch accounts, she has been
forced to be on birth control to prevent having a child with this man. She's been unable to choose her spouse, which is extraordinarily outrageous and oppressive. And again, I would suggest violates a number of segments of the Constitution. And so, fortunately, in recent days, her father stepped down. A bank that was supposed to come in and manage her money refused to do so. And so she's still under guardianship. She's still under the court's authority relative to making decisions. But it looks like things are changing and turning on the upswing for Brittany.
Suggested that the federal government not fund caseworkers for those people that have guardians to try and turn them over or change the guardianship. It's true. It's really drawing a lot of attention to this particular area of the law, and I think it's a wonderful thing. Well, I agree with you, and it's funny, as you said, it's changes on every aspect of their life, but that's guardianship, and I think the law is sometimes constitutional rights, but it's getting so it should be guarded as closely as we can. Two people are looking for your Kerry Peck. You can be reached by telephone code 312-201-0900. We have offices in downtown Chicago, in Westbrook, and in Holbrook. We can also be reached on Google at Peck Ritchey, PECKRITCHEY.com, and we'll be happy to meet with you, talk to you on the phone, Zoom with you. So consultation is no cost. We're going to step out and we'll come right back. Okay. Now, here's what we asked about questions. What's the most common questions that you get? Now, in this case, you'd like to talk about it, Kerry Peck, is there? No, I'm happy to answer that. Okay. I noticed that maybe we could talk a little bit about your book, because I found it very interesting. And again, I think that let's make sure that people can know that they can find this book. It's on Amazon, isn't it? Amazon and the review website. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll answer it. Sure. Thank you. Business leaders. They do. This is what
hear from. He's an author. I think you're a cool author, so I don't want to get Mr. Law. I've heard that Let Dementia Steal Everything. And that's a copy of the book. I've read it. It's really good. There's much more content than we like to admit about dementia and how it can affect your decision making. As a child of a parent, you should recognize these signs and take some action to protect them. So again, I welcome Kerry Peck to the show. Kerry Peck, tell me about this book, though. Can you help us to the ABA or tell us a little bit about how you came about this book?
Yes, it's exactly right. The American Bar Association, which is the largest organization of lawyers in the United States, the contact can be to write this book. This book is written for
family members who have a loved one that might be afflicted with some form of dementia. And of course, the most common form of cognitive impairment and dementia is Alzheimer's disease. But dementia comes in a lot of different forms, from Parkinson's disease, from strokes, and a variety of different medical circumstances. This book is designed as basically a to-do list, virtually a check-off list. It's not written in legalese. It's designed for you to read a chapter based on what you need, open the table of contents, pick a chapter, read it. And I'm pleased to say that the foreword to the book is written by a very well-known, highly regarded, basically celebrity author, Scott Turow. Scott's written a number of terrific legal thriller books, several of which have been turned into movies. Scott was kind enough to write the foreword for this book and discuss his mother's journey with dementia as well.
So you can get this book on the ABA website or the Amazon, and essentially the price is very, very low so that everybody can afford it because it's got great information.
It does great information. And as you mentioned, how it touches so many of us. And of course, obviously, we hope that doesn't affect us. But it affects so many of our citizens, and it's so important to understand what you can do to help, not legally, but obviously legally, to protect them from these vultures out there. And there are a lot of vultures out there trying to take advantage of people. And as a tax attorney, I can tell you that I see it a lot. There's a lot of these people out there trying to take advantage of older Americans. Because all these older Americans have access. And it's easy to take them away from them. Did you agree with that?
Well, I think that's a great point, Steve. I'm glad you raised it. Financial exploitation of older adults is an epidemic.
It comes in a lot of different forms. It comes when people try and get access to your information on the computer. It comes when people call you up and pretend like they're from Social Security, or as Steve, you would know, from the IRS. And so financial abuse and financial exploitation comes in a lot of different formats. Today on the computer, there's what we call the romance scams, in which older adults who might be lonely and isolated, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, are approached on the internet by someone who purportedly wants to, again, get involved in a romantic relationship with them. And that romantic relationship requires some money to get started. You know, it's, oh, honey, send me the money for a plane ticket. I'll come and visit you. And I'll even marry you if you send me, enough money. But the reality is they're all
send us the post, send us the fees you want to lottery, but just wire us for $1,000. Older adults are also hit up quite regularly now by what we call the grandparent scam, which is a call that comes in very, very late at night. And it's kind of like, it's a whole junkie, and I'm in jail, and if you can wire me $2,000, I can get out overnight. And of course, grandma wants to do what's right for can be reached on the web at Peck, P-E-C-K, Ritchey, T-C-H-E-Y.com. And Steve, thank you so much for having me.
If you also continue to do so. So if you're looking for information about this area of the law or your opinions or how this might affect you, read what he's out there. Kerry Peck, Google him. He's got great articles out there so you can find them. So again, if you have some text topics and call open 246-664-664, we're going to take another short break and now we're going to come back here with a Kerry Peck on 8560 The Answer. There's no separate thing. When was the last time the right there? Yeah, the first one. It was the first one. It's like 4 minutes. So very short, very short. We don't have to write the title. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the articles you've written, if you want to talk a little bit about that. Do you regular articles for anybody, or are you just coming there? I'm for the National Senior Center, but we can talk about articles, let's see. It's going to be better than the Times or Washington Post, but we talk about those kind of things. Let's do that. Let's talk about it because this is your authority, and that's I think that's important for people to know. Okay? Thank you. Let's do that. I just told you, I'm a Kerry student. Your producer, Josh. Josh, don't forget that. We're joined today by here in Chicago, Attorney Kerry Peck. I didn't be on the show because you have so much information about this area of the law. So, and you recognize that around the country, aren't you? I mean, you do interviews, you teach attorneys across and healthcare workers about this area.
Well, thank you. I do have the privilege of lecturing around the country. During the pandemic, I did about 40 Zoom lectures and spoken various conferences around the country for healthcare workers, for other lawyers, and so forth. I have the privilege of being called upon
as an expert. I was interviewed by the New York Times, the Washington Post, things of that nature. I was interviewed some time ago by the New York Times in a pretty interesting case involving a gentleman who's since passed away. His name was Sumner Redstone. Mr. Redstone had no trouble finding love because his fortune began with a B as in billions. He owned at the time NBC, and he also owned, Viacom. And Mr. Redstone was 94 years old when I was interviewed. He had what's commonly called a gastrostomy tube. He was fed through his stomach. And Mr. Redstone was surrounded with younger women. And Mr. Redstone's situation was pretty interesting. He allegedly promised to give one of the younger women $100 million.
Allegedly $100 million. Mr. Redstone purportedly gave this young lady $30 million, and she sued him for the inequality raising in California. Yeah, that's the an issue, of course, was Mr. Redstone's capacity to make decisions. Another case,
Attorney Peck, I'd like to talk about another case. We'll have to do it another time because I want to make sure that people know where to find you before we get off the air. So tell people where they can find you.
You can
sharing all of his insight. Join us next week here at AM 560, the lesson for your next conversion. Thanks again. For tuning in to the Trust Radio Network on AM 560, the answer is Ritchey. Attorney Stephen A. O'Leary. Until next Friday at 7. This is James in conversations with some of the most trusted professionals in all of Chicagoland. Enjoy interviews with local professionals dedicated to providing the very best products and services. What they do, and most importantly, why they do. They take a step inside the minds of some of Chicagoland's most successful business leaders. And all there is to know on the Trust Radio Network with your host, Attorney Stephen A. O'Leary. See you right back here next Saturday at 7 on AM 560. For your time here at Kerry Peck. Had a great time. You shared great information. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that with us. My pleasure. Even though I'm not there, don't forget that. So we'll talk soon. So thanks so much. I'll shoot you an email. I'll give you a link where you can find these segments if you want to use them for whatever purpose. I definitely would like to do it. And love to do that. I'll provide that to you. So thanks so much for joining us here today. And we'll talk very soon, sir. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. Attorney Stephen Leahy here. We're going to take a little bit of a break for the next show. Before we do the next show, let me, because I got to get some water. It's clean. My throat. So let me find my. Good afternoon. Hello, his name is Jake. Okay. Because they got 12 minutes. If I ain't going to wait 12 minutes, I could be doing it for 12 minutes from me. So thanks, Kerry. Kerry Peck. I thought he had some great information for us. Again, he's a student attorney. I know, again, when I have clients who have issues, I send them to him. He's the guy. So I want you also, if you need this type of, it's really the elder law stuff that's really coming to fruition here. And there's so many more laws to protect older Americans now, as there should be. Because they work their life, they put a nest egg together, and someone swoops in and steals it. Not something that we want to encourage or allow. Okay, so that's my that's clear. But you agree with me. All right, so you, the people out in your audience. I just want to start a couple of shots here because it is the IRS radio hour is coming up, and we're going to talk about. I always like to go back and look at now remember I have a podcast that I do every day at about 6:15. We talk about the backlog, the IRS not following their own rules, which is paramount. They do this all the time, I believe. They don't follow, they set rules for you, but when it's time for them to follow rules, they don't follow the rules. Don't like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. IRS follow rules, what you need to know about cryptocurrency and taxes. What's the tax period do? IRS and others. What am I talking about? I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about tax code. I don't think people understand tax code and what that means. It's different than any other code. Right? And when you, that's what I always do, Josh. I always talk about things. I don't talk about myself. Also, let me see what the latest news is going so fast. It's kind of amazing. China saved the planet. God bless him. Murderer Biden spoke too soon. I also heard some rumors of a U.S. Supreme Court justice stepping aside. Rumor. I keep looking to see if somebody reports it, but I haven't seen it yet. Only one place, so I'm not going to justify it with that. Okay, so let's, this is, I don't want to talk about too much about Afghanistan because it'll make me cry. It's a sad state of affairs. When does it end? This is what's wrong with our government. This is it's indicative of our military has become just like our government. Too large, too cumbersome, and not caring, and not doing their job, and more concerned with sociology than military operations, in my opinion. So I've been thinking about changing the first segment from the review and comment, but I don't think I'm ready. Yeah, no, it is. I got 2 kids in my ear, too. But okay. That's what we're trying to talk about. Because I'm in right wing nut. Well, I am. I get it. But most people on 560 totally agree with me. Not much, but in the whole, I'm a little I said, I'm right on the tail of the hunt. He was a benevolent dictator. Let's see what we can talk about. kind of depressing me. So last month, in my at Boston Green where my office is, they had a event. I wish they would have done a better job planning it, but they had an event where they brought out a big truck with a LED big screen, and put it in hydraulics that put it way up in the air, and they had like a driving movie. Because you think about this, at these shopping centers, after the clock, it's all empty real estate. They didn't do anything. So they came and 2 million people were there. I watched it, and I'm not a movie watcher, but I watched Wonder Woman. 1984. That's the movie. They got another movie before that, but it's funny because some neighbors that were next to me, the neighbors about 30, I think one's 30, one's 28. Maybe they're both 30, 32, something like that. But this is good. They were laying in the back of their car watching the movie. And I said, have either of you ever been to a drive-in? And they said, no, we never. Have you ever been to a drive-in? So I bet when I was a kid, everybody went to the drive-in because it was a cheap night out. You paid for the car. So when I went to the drive-in, my dad used to make us hide. Okay, let's go. We don't want to pay for you. I didn't know what the whole concept was. He paid per time, so it wasn't really stealing anything. But we just thought it was kind of hide. When I was in high school, I lived in, we went to John Hersey, which is in Arlington Heights. In there, the twins happened, and then they put a third screen there, so they have 3 screens in when I was in high school. And after we went a lot to the drive-in. Every Sunday, our friend would go, we'd meet at the front wait of whatever movie they had chosen. So I saw some good movies. I saw the Blues Brothers there. I saw Kerry Peck there. There's some great movies there. And then I went to that. And then there was the 53 drive-in. I was talking about this. The 53 drive-in was on Route 53 in Lake County. And they had porn on the drive-thru, in the drive-in. And if you drive past, you actually sit back 40 feet. It was for 53 in Lake County. Maybe it was 32 County. I think it's 32 County. It was kind of a long area. They had a lot of questionable businesses there. It's kind of a red light district, yes. And they overlooked a lot of laws. And I think the Cook County sheriffs were in charge of the time. So there wasn't a lot of police officers and but that is mandatory because it's kind of funny. But there's and that's when they disappears again. Here you've never been to one. So I think it'd be interesting. I think I was like, just for nostalgia, because I've gone to so many. So I don't care what the movie was. I brought some beer. It's a bit bad now because now I have a fan because I know I can put it. I couldn't do that in the 70s. I couldn't plug in my fan to my car. I put in my fan, had my folding chair, some old stuff. And my wife wasn't feeling well, so she didn't go with me. She said, "It'll be creepy you sitting there by yourself." By myself. But the kids would show up later just to kind of see what was on my. And I saw my Wonder Woman. She wasn't able to look at her, but he was. And then they gave her an accent. One of them had an accent for an accent. She wasn't an American. Linda Carter was like American. One of them were like American. But she wasn't from America. I know that. Some women's island, which I searched for, I never did find. She was through an Amazon. I searched for it. I never did find it. Still searching for it. I don't think it exists, Josh. I think they're cheesy.
We got to pull it up.
So I thought that was interesting. And then I was looking today, what would have tripped up that first? Because there's so many, again, beginning out there, and use this. You can get it for less than nothing at 3 o'clock in the evening. I think in the summer, doing it once a week or once a month someplace would be pretty powerful. And that would be the cost of movies. I do old movies. Because that would be the the nostalgia. You know, do Blue Brothers or something. You can go somewhere. It doesn't look like these new movies, guys. Exactly. They don't pay anyway. But people my age would love to go, I think. Yeah, I know. People my age would love to go. Younger people don't know what they're missing. They don't, well, that's science and I can not watch it. Well, yeah. It's pretty cool. Give me something to do. It was pretty good. I thought they did it. They did a good job. I really wanted to have my hot dog stand out and give hot dogs out as a promotion. But I didn't have enough time. I just learned of it last Thursday. Although they were talking about it for a month, and I mentioned it, and he didn't come back to me on it, so the manager. So maybe he just didn't want me to do that. That kind of thing. But I would have been good. It was good. So let's just start. So it's 3:30, and I'll just talk about whatever I want to talk about. This is what I generally do. Pursuant to Internal Revenue Service guidance, be advised that any federal tax impost contained in this program is not intended to be used and it cannot be used by any person or entity for the purpose of avoiding any tax penalties that may be imposed by the Internal Revenue Service or any other U.S. federal taxing authority or agency, or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any transaction or matter addressed in the show. The opinions expressed by the host and the guests are their own and may not be used as authoritative advice. Any use of this material without the written consent of the host is strictly prohibited. Radio Hour with your host, Attorney Stephen Lake, on AM 560 PM. Tune in every week at 5 for an informative discussion about IRS obligations, credit card debt, mortgage default, collection activity, and how to resolve observations using tax resolution, tax mortgage loan modification, foreclosure defense, and bankruptcy. Your host is Stephen Lake, and the principal of Open Tax Resolutions and the law office of Stephen Lake. Stephen is the author of Deal with Your IRS Problems Today. IRS and debt issues are fools. But in those who are resolutions, to be ready and take notes. Read the IRS Radio Hour. And now, here's Attorney Stephen Lake. Let's go to taxpayers and patriots. We're coming to you from Studio C here at AM 560 AM. This is the IRS Radio. The IRS Radio is brought to you by the law office of Stephen A. PC and Open Tax Advocates. God bless you. Open Tax Advocates helps business professionals solve IRS problems for you. We help them with audits and levies, liens and embarrassments, collections, unfiled tax returns, and payroll tax issues. But we also help people with mortgage foreclosures, loan modifications, bankruptcy, and other debt-related issues. I'm also going to mention U.S. tax code, because we're going to talk about that in the second segment today. We're going to talk about when a case will go to the U.S. tax court. When does that make sense? So let's stay with us for that segment so we can talk about that. But remember, you can call us at 312-664-6649. Again, 312-664-6649. And here's our producer, Josh. And you're ready for the Let's Move Forward. Review and comments on the news. The news is really depressing. But I know depressing. But I'm talking about it's important. And I'm perplexed by this whole thing because it seems like when it came to my mind, it was first, I didn't want to talk about it because it was so dark. It's gotten worse. It's like, can our government do anything worse than it did before? Yeah, it doesn't seem like it could, it can't be by accident. It's got to be on purpose. It's got to be. When I hear say, it's up to the Taliban or whether we can get our people out. What? If we leave after the people will find us for 20 years, you think as soon as they get a chance to come after some of our people, they can do it. And they're not here. Oh, we gave them a list of people they should let into the airport. We gave them a list. We gave them that's true. And they're asking us, here's the list of people that helped us. Please let them out. Hold on, we'll let them out. Those things we go track them, either put in prison or put a bullet in their head. This doesn't make any sense. Who would do something like that? Doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so again, this is not by accident. They seem to be trusting the Taliban for our cloud. It's, and I've heard some talk, I've heard some military people, and some people in the government say, yeah, we had a deal with the Taliban, and part of the deal was we're going to close these air bases, and we're going to close all of our bases, and then we can get our people out. I don't think you let your enemy decide how you're going to get out, because we're not leaving because they beat us. Well, we beat ourselves and understand not too long, maybe, but we're freedom this military. Until yesterday, when remember the report show on Friday, until yesterday we lost all those Marines, and we haven't lost the servicemen in Afghanistan in 18 months. So it wasn't that we were really flat and we had to get out of there and we were trying to go with our tail between our legs. We knew we thought we could do it. But it was a vacuum, and that's what we decided to do. Let's just go out in the middle of the night without telling anybody about it. Any of our people, you count the number of aircraft they left behind. And many of the Taliban, they can't fly them. So what's the big deal? Well, okay, they can get them some money because there's those helicopters and all aircraft get a big dollar in the market. And that's people out there pay big money for that stuff. And they will help them fund all of this terror activity. Right? I also understand that we gave them a lot of parents of money. The Taliban, we gave them parents of money. And all of our payment. It doesn't make any sense. I'm kind of terrified. What are we thinking? Or what are you thinking? Is our government is just inept? The answer is our government is inept. I don't know how. And this whole thing from 2015, which started in Europe with the migration crisis in Europe, it's started all over them. People are trying to get through Turkey into Europe. 5 million people. What's up to this? It's not going to work. I mean, 5,000, hundreds of thousands. How is that going to work? We've got hundreds of thousands at the border now. We're going to have hundreds of thousands. How is that going to work? Who's going to take care of that? Where are we going to put them? Who's going to fund this? What neighborhood? I can't tell you this. They're not going to neighborhood. You're going to put Biden's neighborhood and go there and guarantee that. It's not going to be too long. Harris's neighborhood in California. Okay, I'll take a little breath. I understand. Now I'm going to talk about California. Because I want to talk about Larry Elder and his chances. Does he have a chance? He's got a chance. I think it's great. I'd love to see Newsom move in California. And Larry Elder would be shaky. It would be a too wide shock. Not as large as there from 2022 to the end. But we'll see what one leader can do in 7 months by taking over. Right? How the damage they can do. So I'm confident that it doesn't have to be damage. You can improve things in 7 months, 8 months. Social things in the years is done. It's just I'm all in for Larry
support him, and I thought he had a great show. The Sage of what is it? South Central. That's what the Sage of South Central. So again, I think it's great news about him taking over. That we have a new governor in New York. The first thing she does is throw Cuomo under the bus and says, there was 12,000 more people died in there than he let you know. So 12,000 people. Well, yeah, that's the first thing she did. So she's been fighting at the bit. Like, I gotta tell somebody. I know what's going on. She was lieutenant governor. So no, we can't tell anybody. So it's the first thing she does, tells me, hey, you know what? There's 12,000 more people that died in these nursing homes that he didn't tell you about, and now I'm going to add it to the list. So that's an amazing number. He deserves to be investigated at the very least. And he walked away with a pension and money and $5 million book deal, which I heard that they might be trying to get away from him, ethics in New York, trying to say that you can't get that money. But so he walked away wealthy, and has a pension for the rest of his life, and it turns out that he's a liar and a cheat and a philanderer and a misogynist. So he's all of those things that the left hates. And yet he was the doll of the left. 6 months ago, they were telling us everybody should be like Cuomo, Governor Cuomo. He's the greatest. He won the Emmy. He was on every talk show. They all loved him. And now he should be shunned. I don't think they're shunning him enough. I'm shunning him. I'm not going to talk about him on the show ever again. How's that? Well, maybe I will. We'll see what goes on. So anyway, we're going to have a great show today. I'm going to talk about the U.S. Tax Court in the second segment. We have a Constitution segment with a guest, Attorney Kerry Peck. He's going to talk about the Britney Spears case. So join us there for the third segment. Now remember, this show is sponsored by the Law Office of Stephen Leahy, PC, and Open Tax Advocates. Open Tax Advocates helps business professionals solve IRS problems forever. And we also help people avoid them. So if you're having any problems, if you wanted some tax planning, if you're fighting the IRS, call Open Tax Advocates at 312-664-6649. Again, that number is 312-664-6649. Visit them on the web at chicagotaxteam.com. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back at the other side. Join us again on AM 560, The Answer. Okay, now I have to figure out, I know what I'm going to talk about, but let me see if I can get my notes up. I hope this thing doesn't, I'm overbeared I have too many videos on this, I was going to take them off, but it takes too long to move them. So I was trying to wait, and now it's just kind of, we're full. So I know, well, I just hope I can make it to the end of the show without this thing crapping out on me. Crapping out. That's a technical term. We talk about, in the video production world, we talk about. It's an acronym. Okay, I don't know what it's an acronym for. But let me do one thing before we get started. That's that. Attorney Stephen Leahy we're going to talk about U.S. Tax Court. What did I say there? Okay, Josh, whenever you're ready, sir. Welcome back to the program. I am your host. I am attorney Stephen Leahy. He wouldn't lie to you. I'm here with our technical producer, Joliet Josh. And Joliet Josh is also my technical producer. He's all mine. Here on our other show, which is the Trust Radio Network, where we interview trusted professionals, people you can trust when you're making important decisions. Trying to remember who was on last night. Who was on last night, Josh? Also, now next week on the show, we're going to have attorney Kerry Peck. He helps people with estate planning and elder law and other areas of the law. So he talks about that. He's an outstanding attorney. And last night was Larry Smith. Attorney Larry Smith helps people with consumer. So I hope you caught that. I hope you caught that show. That was a great show. Larry Attorney Smith is a great host. Shares a lot of great information, and that's the whole point of that show, is to share great information from people who know, right? The trusted professionals. And then if you ever have these problems, consumer problems, right? You get false information on your credit report or on a job search, and he's the guy you call, Larry Smith. If you have problems with your mother, for instance, might be in a elder care facility and having suffering injuries, or someone's trying to take advantage of her. This is what Attorney Peck helps people avoid, and he helps resolve that issue. I sent a client that's whose mother was living with his oldest brother, and his oldest brother was having her change her will against the mother's will, and Attorney Peck stepped in and helped them. So I appreciate Attorney Peck. And if you're having a problem like that, call Attorney Peck. But if you're having some other problems with taxes, then you call Open Tax Advocates, 312-664-6649. So let's go on to the show. Okay, guys, we're going to go on. We're going to go to the U.S. Tax Court, because there's court. That's court. That's tax court. And I am a tax attorney. People call me a tax attorney. I guess I fit in that description. I help people with taxes, and I am a tax attorney. And I go to tax court, U.S. Tax Court. It's a different court than, it's kind of like a bankruptcy court in that it's part of the district court, but it's not part of the district court. It's kind of a separate area that specializes in U.S. tax and court cases, okay, tax cases, and so when you get audited, for instance, when you get audited and the auditor is very hard to deal with, and they tell you, oh, this isn't deductible, this isn't deductible, this isn't deductible, and sometimes they have no reason to deny your deductions. They just say it isn't, and I've seen this happen a million times. 100,000. Okay, but I've seen it happen a lot of times, in that the auditor says things that aren't true, that they don't really follow what the law says. And what is a taxpayer to do? How are you going to question what the auditor says, right? You can argue with them all you want, but once they write the deficiency and they have an order of deficiency and they say, this is what it is. Now, according to the IRS, that's what it is. So where can you go? Well, you can go, there is appeals within the IRS. And you should exercise those appeals. But when the deficiency comes out, you get what they call a 90-day letter. And what this 90-day letter is that it says you have 90 days to bring this in front of a tax court case, to make a tax court case of it. And after those 90 days, you can't. You're going to have to live with it. And so they won't collect from you for those 90 days because you have 90 days to appeal. And so people say, well, I don't want to go to tax court. That's kind of scary. I'm not an attorney. I can't go to tax court. And here's the good news is that a lot of times you don't go to court. They have procedures in place in the United States tax court where the attorneys, the general counsel for the IRS, has a procedure where they take your case and they forward it to a appeals officer. So not a lawyer, another appeals officer, kind of like the auditor. But this appeals officer is much more informed about what the tax law is. You're kind of going up the chain of command, and they don't have. I think sometimes auditors get a personal vendetta against people. It just happens. So you might not have maybe you went in there and you brought your paperwork and they didn't like you for some reason. You didn't have the right color shoes on or whatever. I always wear black shoes, but whatever it is, and you might think that they had an axe to grind against you, and sometimes they might. So when you go to and you bring a case to tax court, now most tax court cases, like most cases, never go to trial, right? But again, they have this procedure where it goes to an appeals officer, and the appeals officer will review your case with you, and you can bring up all of your objections to the appeals officer, and many times you're going to get it resolved that way. Now, he probably is not going to give you 100% of whatever the auditor said was wrong. But if you get 10%, if you get 50%, well, then it makes sense, right, to go in front of an auditor and say, hey, this just isn't right. It wasn't fair that the auditor didn't look at my paperwork. And I had the documents to prove that these deductions were legitimate. And because sometimes, again, the auditor just looks at it and says, no, I don't believe you. So, for instance, maybe you have a child that's working for your company, and the auditor says, "Well, you're just falsifying those records, and you're paying your son, and he's not doing any work for you." But maybe he is doing work for you, and the auditor just wouldn't listen to you. So now you can go in front of an appeals officer, bring your evidence. Here's what the evidence was. Here's what I paid my son. Here's the work that he did. Here's what his work product was. Here's what he did. And they said, well, yeah, you're right. That this is a deduction, and it's a legitimate deduction, and you should be able to deduct it. So then you can win that issue, and then you can come to terms with the IRS based on whatever the appeals officer decides. Now, sometimes the appeals officer. Now, again, you're going to make headway with the appeals officer. Very few cases go back to the lawyers. But even if it goes back to the lawyers, you have some negotiation with the attorneys, and before it goes to trial. And you can generally fix the case or come to an agreement in the case with the attorneys or the appeals officer and never go to trial. So don't be afraid of bringing a tax court case. And a lot of times, if there's not a lot of money involved, obviously you don't want to hire a lawyer because now I'm going to lose and I'm going to pay a lawyer. But it's kind of like if you owe less than $50,000, they have a small dollar case procedure that makes it easy for people that don't use a lawyer, that they can go to tax court, bring a tax court case, again, go to appeals. They have a streamlined procedure so people can do it themselves, and they won't need an attorney. And so I'm not trying to sell you my tax court case appearances, right, representation, because a lot of times people can do this themselves. Again, if it's less than $50,000, they have the small case procedures that you can follow, and the court has great information on the U.S. tax court website about how to proceed in these cases, what you should do, what documents you should use, who you should contact, what should be in the petition. All of this, it's all on the website, and they help people do it themselves. And so if you go through an audit and you don't like the results, don't be afraid of turning to the United States tax court to get satisfaction and get justice. Because just because the auditor says something doesn't mean it's true. And if you're adamant that you're right and that they kind of railroaded you, and it happens, then go to tax court. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid that somehow you're going to be in front of a judge the next day, because it doesn't work that way. There's a great procedure, again, especially the small case procedures for small tax cases under $50,000. Again, don't be afraid to do it. So that's what we help people with. We help people with fight the IRS in tax court. So I have cases in tax court. We fight the IRS in collections, and sometimes people need our help, and sometimes they don't. But if you're looking for help with your tax case, give me a call, 312-664-6649. I'd be happy to answer your questions. And people on the show hear me on the show, and then they call and say, is it really you'll answer my questions? The answer is yes, I will answer your questions. 312-664-6649. We're going to take a short break. We're going to do the Constitution segment next with attorney Kerry Peck. So take a short break here on AM 560. The Answer. Now, what should be my question today? I have questions. Letters. We got them letters. I didn't get any letters. I got a lot of letters from the IRS. I'll tell you that. They for 18 months this is the most I've had in 18 months. And this is always my indication of when my phone is going to start ringing. When I start getting letters from the IRS for all my clients, because then I know that the letters are out. They're coming out, and so it's not just my clients; it's everybody. And people generally are going to take action when they start getting letters from the IRS. If the IRS never sends you a letter, you'll never do anything. Out of sight, out of mind. And that's what I always say. They haven't sent. Why are they taking stuff away from me? They haven't sent me anything. I didn't get anything. Well, you haven't filed in 10 years. Here's my favorite story, Josh. One of my favorites. I have a lot of favorite stories. Here's one of them. I had a client early in my career who worked at the United States Postal Service. She would not mail me a thing. She walked it to my office, and she said, "I work there. I see the way it's done. If I want something here, I'm going to bring it." And so she brought everything, and that made a big impression on me. That she knew, because we all think, well, sometimes things get more than you think. Things don't get through. And that's the whole thing about a lot of this stuff in the legal world. They say, well, we mailed it to you. You got a notice. We mailed it to you. No, you didn't. I didn't get a notice because you might have mailed it, but I never got it. And it is true that the mail is, I don't know. Don't trust the mail. You're right about that. Okay, so what? Let me just pick my topic. I like the topic. I didn't even go through this. Can I find a tax clinic? See, these are questions I was gonna. Again, when did I talk? Okay. What you need to know about crypto. Did you see our friends at CoinFlip were on the news this week? That they two things. They were on with the governor himself. They had a press conference, and they signed an agreement and moved their offices into the old post office. Speaking of the post office, now when I was a kid, the old post office was. I lived off the Eisenhower Expressway, and that's right. The Eisenhower feeds right into the city through the old post office. And whenever we drove into the city, it was my brother, my sister, and myself. It was our practice to roll down all the windows, beep the horn, and yell out the window so it would echo. We did it every time. It was just our practice. It's still there. I don't come in through the Eisenhower any longer, but I don't know if you've seen what they've done to the old post office, but they made it a beautiful office building. They put a big garden on the roof of the building. It's just beautiful. They have a lot of facilities up there. I think there's tennis courts and lots of stuff up there on the roof. They had to reinforce the whole building to make sure that it didn't collapse, which makes sense. We don't want it to collapse. But anyway, CoinFlip moved into there, and then there was another one that they got. They got $1.7 million in subsidies to keep their facilities here to hire more people. And I think that's where the governor came in, and they wanted. I guess they had 30 employees now, and then they moved into the new post office building, and they are hiring more people. And then there was another big story about crypto, about another ATM company that was just purchased by NCR. NCR is the National Cash Register company who manufactures almost all the cash registers that you see. and they're making point of sale using this ATM to start collecting crypto. So I looked at the number, like I forget the company that was just purchased, but it was not one of the 10 biggest vendors, cryptocurrency vending machine companies. And our friends at CoinFlip are number 3. So I was surprised to find that out too. So anyway, that's what cryptocurrency and taxes. That's what I'm going to talk about. Let me change my Ching here. Crypto and taxes. Okay, let's move along on the show. It's 4:00 already. For God, I was already home 2 weeks ago. Almost. Actually, I went to my sister's house. I used to do that after every show, but when we started going to 5 o'clock, I stopped going. So she was very surprised to see me. My sister is the one person who watches my show every Sunday. Even my mom doesn't watch it every Sunday. She'll forget. My sister never forgets. She watches the show. Yes, I agree. Uh-oh. Crypt. I misspelled crypt. Crypto. I better put my glasses on. That's right, I need glasses. Okay, Josh. Yeah, I am the tax man here on AM 560, The Answer, here with Joliet Josh and you, the listener. That's right. I'm here to answer questions about taxes. And today I'm going to answer questions about everything you need to know. Maybe not everything you need to know, but what you need to know about crypto and taxes. And I know I've talked about it on this show before because I have a lot of clients who were dabbling in crypto and then came up with some tax problems because they didn't understand exactly how it was taxed and what to use it for, and as we find it's becoming more and more prevalent. That you're using it to buy things and not just as a buy and hold value storage. Okay, that people are really starting to use it to buy things. There was a story in the news about a crypto vending machine company who was bought by NCR, the National Cash Register Company, and I think you could see where that's going to go. The point of sale, trying to convert crypto into cash so you can buy things with the crypto. So here's the one thing I want you to understand about that. With crypto, there's a number of things that happen, and I just call it crypto because we're friends. Cryptocurrency, in that when you're buying crypto, right? That's the basis, right? And so there is that's not the taxable event unless you get crypto from working. So maybe you provided a service for someone and they paid you with cryptocurrency. Well, then it's income and you have to report it, right? Then there is a taxable event there. If I did something like mining, crypto mining, and I know that this is coming up a lot, a lot of people are starting to investigate how can I get into crypto mining. When you mine something and you get a value for doing that service, that's income. You're going to pay income tax on that. If they do things what they call the airdrop, right? So they come up with something. Maybe if you give email addresses to your friends, they'll give you some crypto percentage, a small percentage of a coin or or a coin that's not worth that much, but they'll base it on how many emails you give, and you give a lot of emails, you get crypto. That's a taxable event. That's income. So now we talked about when it's income. So what happens when I get rid of it, right? What if I pay someone with the crypto, so someone else does a service for me and I give them crypto? Well, now it's a taxable event because I've got to determine how much I bought it for and then what I sold it for. That's right. When I give it to someone for a service, it's like I sold it. So now if I got more for it than I bought it for, then there's a capital gain, right? It's the same thing if I switch cryptocurrencies. If I take one cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and buy another one with that Bitcoin, buy a different currency. Now that's a taxable event too, because now I'll have a capital gain based on the value, or a capital loss based on the value I bought it for and what I sold it for or gave it away for or paid a service fee with it. We see that. I saw that that Bitcoin has gone up again over $50,000, right, in the last couple of weeks. So it's almost doubled in 2 weeks. People were always afraid it was gonna go away. Well, it didn't go away, and I don't think it's gonna go away anytime soon, right? So that's knowing what the tax consequences though are very important. I wanted to also talk about here. Let me get my glasses on because I can't see anything without them. Again, we talked about mining, we talked about income, we talked about expenses, and it's the same thing when you go to a vending machine, right? So there's vending machines out there. You can buy when you buy the crypto or you convert it. That's a taxable event. So all of this stuff, crypto. I also wanted to mention that this year in 2020 for 21 for your 2020 tax returns, it was on the first page whether you have to acknowledge to the IRS on the very first page whether you did anything to do with crypto. If you bought it, sold it, held it, whatever you did, that's on the first page of your 1040 tax return. And so under penalty of perjury, they're asking you that question. This is how much interest the IRS is taking in cryptocurrency. I've been saying that the crypto is one of the three boogeymen, right, that the IRS has been using to justify more money for them, right? The three boogeymen: cryptocurrency, the tax gap. What's the third one? I forget what the third one is. I always forget the third one. But anyway, millionaires and billionaires. That's they're not paying their fair share. But crypto has really come into focus. They are really focusing on what you're doing. They're trying to get every exchange. Because one of the beauties of crypto was that it was anonymous. It's anonymous no longer. Okay, so you're going to have to tell the IRS when you have it. Again, not only on your tax return, but any exchange you're using, they're going to report it also. So be very careful if you're doing it. If you're using crypto, if you're trading crypto, make sure that you report it. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Yes, thank you, Mr. Noel. Hey, that's me. I think crypto is important. I have on my podcast, we do the Crypto Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we talk about crypto on the podcast. You can visit us on our Facebook page to see that every night, Monday through Thursday, around 6:15 on our Facebook page. So if you're fighting the IRS, well, fight the IRS with Open Tax Advocates. They can help you. 312-664-6649. Again, 312-664-6649. Go to chicagotaxteam.com. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to join us on the other side on AM 560, The Answer. Did you see the Saints game where they put the vaccine? You have to have a vaccine. That the tickets were selling for less than $1. I don't think the Bears are, because it's outside. If you're inside, then you do. But that's my understanding. My kids were just there, and then I saw Kanye was there last night, and he said no masks. Did you see it? My kid wanted to go badly. Joey does, but he didn't go. I know it's odd whatever he's doing is different than whatever anybody else is doing. And so I give it to him. I saw he's doing something that you can change the music when I'm not sure exactly how it works. I'm not sure what he's doing. I know that he's putting together this for 2 years now. He's putting together his next release, and it's changing all the time. What's that? Is that what it is? So whatever that is, and I know he's doing a unique approach. So I'm told, whatever that approach might be. I'm not a big Kanye West fan. I don't even know if I could name a song. But I have this argument with my kids all the time. I have a picture up in my office of Richard Nixon and Elvis Presley. That's the most asked for picture from the archives, from the White House archives. It's a very good picture. I always tell people this story is that my friend of mine had it up in his, the guy who gave it to me, he has a copy too, and he had it up in his, and he said, "Hey, who's this guy with Elvis?" Everybody knows Elvis. Not everybody knows Tricky Dick. But there's a good picture. I wish there was a better picture because of Kanye with Trump, and then I was going to put it next to that picture, but just it's too different. But again, I'm too old for that stuff. I don't know anything about it. My kids seem to know. So Joey, not Jake. Jake's not a big Kanye fan, but Joe is. Always has been, man. But again, what I was trying to get at is he equates Kanye with the king of rock and roll, with the king of pop, with he's in that stratosphere. Well, that's why he said, well, he said, I'm talking about now, Dad. Elvis Presley's 60 years ago, 70 years ago. So I guess that's true. And he was iconic. I guess so is Kanye. So not to me because I'm not a Kanye fan, and neither is Kim Kardashian. And are they? But maybe she is a fan. He's almost as rich as my sister. Let me fix this. Wasn't you the youngest billionaire? Or one of them? I'm opening. I went. I probably should close it. Doesn't matter. It's the last segment.
Yes. Not really time late for me to look at my audio. I was thinking about this when I did my podcast. Because I don't really check anything anymore. Anyone I go to church, I remember the first month, even more than that, I had checked everything. I always forgot something. It didn't work. Even when we started here, the audio wasn't working. Now it just seems, always, because everything's kind of set up and you just kind of plug it in and it just works. So, as I said, I set up in 15 minutes. That was, and then it stopped. No, he was still out, just kidding. He was here, but on the phone. I have to be more, I don't know how to be more clear. I really don't. I don't know how to be. But I'm going to tell you how to acknowledge. That's what I'm going to have to do. Acknowledge you understand. Instead of just voting it everywhere. Yeah. And not confirm the shit, because if I say confirm, because then they'll say, oh, no, I'm going to be on the show. But no, again, if you understand it's in person. And that's this whole COVID thing. Everybody gets used to doing everything over there. And it's better in person, in my opinion. How do you see this? IRS radio hour. with attorney Stephen Lee. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. Look at our resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, attorney Stephen Lee.
Hey, it's the Radio Hour brought to you by Triple Zeros. Triple Zeros, the anti-high-tech sports show, because the game is over, brother. Right, Triple Zero. And here's your host, Stephen Lee. Well, thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate your introduction there and your podcast sponsorship. So I appreciate that. But first of all, I want to we generally think about sports here, and sports have been very, very bad for me. I heard both my kids want to see the Bears. I used to go to a lot of Bears games back in the day. When I lived downtown, it was just right there. And you used to be able to go in for almost nothing. I remember back in the day, they wouldn't be on Channel 2 because they were always on Channel 2 when I was growing up. Because it was 12 o'clock, 12 that's it. And remember, Coach Phil said, the Chicago Bears will never be on Monday Night Football again. Because every time they went on there, they got blown out and it was a terrible game. How could somebody not anymore? And that was the team that you played right there. The NFL played 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and Monday night. So, but if they didn't sell out, then they wouldn't be on the television. And so we would go up to, several times I would travel up to Milwaukee and get a hotel just to watch the game. Because that's the only time that they needed it. So one of the things that happened is that to make sure that they were here on local television, the tickets were sold really cheap. They wanted to get in there. And so I used to go to a lot of them. Another one of these days for cold. So I like the preseason, August, September, early September games. I'm going to go to those games. Both my kids, they went to the preseason game. That was great. Zach Trubisky, he played well. They're still big fans of his. I've played. He's not bad in there. I was never really for him or against him, but I do enjoy seeing him do what he did against the Bills because they had a really kind of it's on him attitude, and it wasn't on him. It wasn't that.
No, of course it wasn't on him. That means without him we should be great. Winning them here. So I was talking to some friend of mine the other day. How many games do you think the Bears are going to win this year? Over.
I say they'll win at 8. Because it's not 8 anymore. You got to get 17. So I say that they're over on the team. I'm starting that.
I forget about that. But I thought 8-2. I was starting at 3. So and then I don't gamble, but my buddy took it. I took that all day.
It's like get that in the first quarter of the season.
Well, did you see your schedule? It's a tough schedule this year. I haven't studied the schedule. Now, I did mention that I was supposed to get on this fantasy league. I haven't signed up yet. My niece has been on it. Well, sign up. I'll go sign up. We're gonna do the draft. I think next time this coming Thursday. So I'll keep you involved up to with my team next. I won't mention. If I'm losing, I won't mention it again. One thing I learned about being in fantasy leagues, nobody cares about your team. Only you. Even people in your league, you care about your team. They care about their team. So if they tell yourself, hey, he's on my team, nobody cares. Keep it to yourself. Don't make it us. So, again, this show is sponsored by Stephen Leahy and Open Tax Advocates. Open Tax Advocates helps business professionals solve IRS problems. Further, we're also helping people solve their IRS problems before they get them. That makes sense, right? So we're doing tax work, tax planning, helping reduce your tax burden. That's what we learned in this business. So if you have any questions, any problems, give us a call 312-664-6649. Thanks for joining us, ET. We look forward to joining us next Sunday at 5 on AM 560 The Answer. Okay, so we're going to read by one. So that's one of these things that
560. I'm sorry. But I got that. A kid was shocking me with my, with the dog today. I kept telling him, I gave you a look, he's running the field, man, every time. He's first to the next. So that's okay. I got him. So thanks so much for joining us. And Jake and Josh are going to sign us out. Thank you for being a friend. Watching the podcast to the very end.